Hey, welcome back to Get Down to Business, the show all about small business jobs and entrepreneurship. And joining us today is a proven recruitment leader and entrepreneur from Kansas City, Kevin Downey. Kevin comes from a family of enterprising immigrants who built one of the largest European tile import businesses in the United States, instilling in him a relentless drive and entrepreneurial mindset. After a successful career in the Gulf industry, Kevin founded his recruitment agency in 2014 on a simple principle: to outwork and outperform every vendor in the industry. The firm specializes in building scalable, repeatable hiring systems powered by data-driven sales and marketing strategies, including high-converting B2B email campaigns. Today, thrilled to have Kevin here to share his insights on building elite sales teams, leveraging international talent, and using B2B email marketing to drive inbound leads. Welcome, Kevin.
What's up? Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
You bet. We're going to get to know you, the person behind the microphone, in a couple of minutes, but let's dive all the way in. What are the best ways to drive leads for business-to-business companies that might be tuning in? What gets the highest return on investment, ROI?
Sure. No, easy question. So I always am a big fan of trade shows, right, when they're targeted and relevant. And I'm always a big fan of webinars when you can put them on correctly and you can drive the audience. But for day-to-day lead generation, B2B, it's reps doing cold outreach, boots on the ground or phone, and email marketing, high volume. That's the way you drive leads.
It continues to work even today. So why do almost all B2B companies, including many that listen to this program, why do they struggle with using email to drive leads?
A function of infrastructure doesn't allow for volume, so most are doing it through their CRM. With their CRM, they're connecting Google Workspace, Microsoft 365 boxes. They're running short volume on each email address, and it just won't work that way. I would say also strategically, a lot of them do traditional sequences, and they're trying to market to people rather than doing what you do on the front end of a cold call, because email marketing to drive leads is the exact same thing you do on the front end of a cold call.
Okay, well, we're going to continue talking more about B2B email marketing in just a moment. But Kevin, I shared a little bit of your background. How did you become so passionate about this work?
I think starting my agency 10 years ago, really doing mostly sales and business development rep recruiting. Started doing remote rep recruiting way before, far before COVID, back in 2014 and 15. And just have a passion for the business development side, finding new ways to do outreach, reps to do outreach, generate leads and appointments.
It's awesome. And you're really, really good about it. And especially as we are, believe it or not, entering into Q4 of 2025, this is something everybody should be paying attention to. So Kevin, what's the best tech stack or infrastructure setup for B2B email marketing?
Sure. There would be two. So simply put, I would combine Apollo.io with an email API that will allow you to run really high volume on a single domain, single email address, let's say up to 6,000 a day outbound. Do have some challenges in deliverability in the long run, but as a short run tech stack, it's the best ROI in email there is. As a long-term tech stack, I would look at server infrastructure. With a lot of domains and email addresses. Server infrastructure, as an example, might be a vendor like MailReef, who's specialized in the space. Great product, great company. And you just have to understand how to do the setup.
Interesting, because so often we hear of certain companies that are out there, and you've already given us so much information on, something outside of the box and some of the best, again, setup and infrastructure. I do want to talk about small business owners, because that's the bulk of our audience over here, entrepreneurs. And, a lot of folks are struggling, frankly, to try to implement some automation, some high volume stuff with personalization in email marketing. How do you balance the two?
That's a really good question. We actually strategically, we use a very specific type of format and structure for emails on the outbound side. And we're trying to drive response. We're trying to drive people to reply, right? To generate leads, identify decision maker and pain point so that we can send them stuff, but also call them back, right? I would say personalization is usually first name, sometimes company name, depending upon how you want to do it. We actually have never gone much deeper than that historically.
Interesting. Have you seen any really good examples of personalization? I know, I get a lot of political campaign, emails and things like that.
Sure.
Any sort of best examples or worst examples?
In terms of email structure, you mean? Like
both the personalization, then we're going to get into the subject lines and copywriting as well. But yeah, I guess email success stories or failures.
For sure. I mean, there's certain things that are harder than others, right? It all comes down to what you're pitching and to whom, right? So that can be its own topic. But personalization, typically we're doing subject line. Subject line, we want to, personalize that with first name or company, sometimes both, and then first name usually in the body of the email, and that is about it. We really don't get into trying to pull things from their blogs or that kind of stuff because it's so obvious that it's automated that it loses its effect, right? We want it to come off as just a one-to-one text-based email from a person to a person. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Should business-to-business companies expand their sales teams, or should they hire dedicated business development reps?
Great question. Something we deal with day in and day out in our company. It really, there isn't a blanket answer there. It really depends on the company, who their target audience is, their current sales team structure, whether or not the cost factor of those reps doing their own cold outreach and ROI is going to take too long. That's really what we want to start looking at when we talk about that topic. Generally, I like business development reps doing the cold outreach, if nothing else, to identify decision makers and then hand that off to the sales team. I want to keep the sales team focused on sales and prospects as much as possible.
And that's perfect segue to my next question. How do you find sales or business development reps that are built to do cold outreach?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you're basically, when we're screening, so we have an inbound take form for candidates. One of the things that's a stock question for us is, have they done any cold outreach, cold calling, B2B business development? If they have experience doing it and they know what to expect, generally speaking, you can kind of qualify them with some other things in interview, and that's going to make them pretty good bet. Also, psychometric assessments like Active Index, for example, great product that helps you identify the wiring pattern of the person. That helps a lot to identify people that are built for cold outreach day after day.
Absolutely. And why would somebody want to source remote business development reps in Latin America? I know that you're very passionate on this topic.
Yeah. I mean, we don't want to take jobs away from Americans, obviously, but at the end of the day, for small businesses in particular, if you've got reps in your company that are 75, 100, 125,000, it's really hard to justify them doing cold outreach, right? Because the ROI just takes that much longer. And we've got, kids, I say kids all the time, but the young people down in Latin America, they've come to the United States so often for college, maybe worked a while, gone back home, they're homesick, they're looking for lower cost of living again. And the talent and English speaking level is so high relative to the cost, because you're talking about base comp in the, $1,000 or a little less a month to $1,500, maybe $2,000 on the high end.
Fascinating stuff. Again, we've been chatting all about business development over here with the master, the guru, Kevin M. Downey. Kevin, I've really enjoyed our conversation. I want to make sure our listeners can get in touch with you and your agency. I know you've got a lot more to share than we were able to squeeze into our conversation. How can we get in touch?
Sure. Website is kevinmdowney.com. Have a scheduling link in the top. And then, of course, the contact page. Of course, those are the two best ways, and our phone is on there.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kevin Downey. We really appreciate your time today. And that's a wrap for us this week on Get Down to Business, the show all about small business jobs and entrepreneurship. And of course, we're going to be back next Sunday at 6 p.m. right here on AM 560 The Answer in Chicago, or wherever podcasts can be found. Just search for Get Down to Business on your favorite app. But do me a favor, friends. Make sure you subscribe, rate, review, and share so you don't miss a single episode. We are also brought to you by the amazing realtor, Laura Cachabon-Gervais from Coldwell Banker Stratford Place in Chicago for all of your real estate needs. Highly recommend that you get in touch with her. Again, Laura Cachabon-Gervais from Coldwell Banker Stratford Place Real Estate. And I love to get feedback from our listeners. Today, we've had some amazing guests where we've talked about all things like AI, business development, and so much more. And we've been on the air for over 12 years, and it's always helpful to know what are the topics, what's the advice that's helping you the most in your small business journey. And if there's a particular guest that you've enjoyed, I'd love to get that feedback. I respond to every email. Go on my website, syklein.com, syklein.com, and shoot me a line or suggest yourself or a colleague for the show. I'd love to hear from you. Once again, syklein.com, or check us out on your favorite podcast app. Just search for Get Down to Business. To success, let's get down to business. I can't wait to see you next week right here on AM 560, The Answer, of the show all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. See you then.